Our adventure begins in the eyes of a man codenamed Enoch who's just stepped off an icebreaker ship wedged deep within the ice at the bottom of the world. Enoch is a soldier of the United Nations Global Occult Coalition, and as he begins moving through the cold, desolate landscape, he listens to a conversation between his commanding officer, Captain Pinheiro, and an agent of the FBI's Unusual Incidents Unit codenamed Crow Actual. Crow Actual explains that she had sent teams into one of the SCP Foundation's top secret facilities, Area 12, and mentions that the UIU agent inside was able to find evidence of an enormous Foundation conspiracy involving biological weapons testing called the Vector Program, and it's all supposedly happening right here at the Antarctica Scientific Research Station NSIS-4. Now, for anyone unaware, the SCP Foundation is an incredibly powerful global organization that specializes in the capture, containment, and experimentation of anomalous entities. So if they ever got an idea in their head about wanting to start some trouble, it would definitely be cause for concern. Captain Pinheiro agrees with Crow Actual, saying that he and his team on the NS McCready have been watching NSIS-4 for a month now and also believes that something fishy is going on. He tells her that Enoch just arrived a few days earlier with orders from Ganzir, the GOC's headquarters, but he's been told to wait to investigate anything, and now it's quite clear why. The intel the agent gathered from Area 12 was apparently so alarming to the point where various world and national government organizations have authorized fault line protocols, a set of procedures designed to keep the SCP Foundation's power in check, and Enoch's mission is to infiltrate NSIS-4 and find out what they're up to here.
Be careful out there. We'll hold the light.
And we watch the dark.
Now, NSIS-4 isn't some kind of covert Foundation facility. NSIS stands for National Science Institute Station, and for all intents and purposes, it's just a regular old research station. The people here should simply be a group of scientists from around the world, which makes it even more strange that there's signs of the Foundation being involved with them. Captain Pinheiro warns Enoch that a storm is heading in, but tells him to keep heading south and that he should make it to the docks before he gets swept away, and it doesn't take long for Enoch to arrive at the entrance.
This gate is chained from the outside.
Too cold to waste time hunting for keys. Safety off.
After using his master key to bypass the gate, Enoch climbs a ladder to enter the NSIS-4 shipping warehouses, where he's able to warm up a little bit. The relief doesn't last long, however, as he soon sees an old blood trail leading across a room with no body in sight. Pinheiro tells him to have a look around, and Enoch vaults through an already broken window to pick up a set of keys. Taking a closer look at the ledger the keys were on top of, he spots that it's the NSIS-4 shipping manifest and radios Pinheiro to tell him that it looks like somebody named Markus has redacted quite a bit of information on it, assuming that he must be a member of the SCP Foundation since they kind of like to redact things a lot. It's sort of their whole thing. Pinheiro is intrigued, but explains that Markus is actually just a worker at NSIS-4, the site's communications officer, and that he's even spoken to him a few times over the radio as a matter of fact. Pinheiro then asks if Enoch was able to read anything related to the Vector Program, and Enoch says there's a serial number on the manifest for an unusually large shipping container, item number 610VX3, sent from none other than Area 12, the very same SCP Foundation facility that Crow Actual's UIU agent discovered evidence of bioweapons testing in. Pinheiro is disquieted by this and tells Enoch to go downstairs to check the warehouse's inventory. Ignoring the large hole in the ceiling and the fact that the workers here are apparently using computer equipment from the Stone Ages, Enoch continues through the upper level of the warehouse and follows the blood trail to drop down to the ground floor again. The storm is really picking up now and visibility is extremely low, but Enoch soon heads back into the warehouse's lower level where some of the snowcats still have their lights on. Searching the warehouse's inventory, Enoch discovers the NSIS-4 shipping list, which mostly just contains lab equipment, but notices that many of the containers are addressed to Foundation sites and were actually incoming from them and filled with empty specimen canisters, which would mean that the Foundation is sending an NSIS-4 testing supplies. Pinheiro expresses doubt that outgoing canisters were empty as well, and Enoch says that the unusually large VX-3 shipping container on the manifest isn't on the shipping list, but he does see a hospital delivery on the same day from Markus himself, suggesting that Markus made a shipment of some kind to the NSIS-4 hospital. Pinheiro points out how strange it is for a communications officer to be so involved in the day-to-day shipping of suspicious cargo, but just then he tells Enoch that he's picking up unusual transferic readings coming from all around him. Enoch switches on the mimetic vision mode in his visor and confirms that there is indeed a mimetic trail on the ground next to him, which he concludes must have belonged to Markus. Now let me stop for a second to explain. When I first played this level, I initially thought that Enoch just had unusually crappy night vision, but in actuality it's something completely different and it's tremendous. Within the SCP universe, the UNGOC is a worldwide organization dedicated to the defense of humanity at all costs, and often finds itself at odds with the SCP Foundation due to the two's differences when it comes to dealing with anomalies. Actually, to best illustrate the GOC's stance on anomalies, all I need to say is that they don't even call them that. Instead, they call them para-threats, and more often than not, when the GOC encounters an anomaly, they outright destroy it rather than contain or experiment on it, even if it poses no threat whatsoever. One thing that's particularly interesting about them though is the manner in which they do it. The GOC is definitely one of the more well-funded and well-staffed organizations in the SCP universe, and they have some of the most advanced gear in the setting. Those blue things on Enoch's arms aren't for aesthetic purposes, that's his health. But that's not even the best part. There's a reason why they have the word occult in their name. The GOC actually employs the usage of magic in their operations. Enoch's mimetic vision is some kind of arcane GOC technology that essentially allows him to see ghosts. The word mimetic refers to anything that affects a person's mind or perceptions, and from my interpretation, mimetic vision visualizes to Enoch the final thoughts, experiences, and desires of dead people, whose mimetic influence still rings out even after they've died. That is juicy. The developers at Affray Interactive have done an amazing job of interpreting the GOC. There's such a clean blend of sci-fi, modern tactical aesthetics, and fantastical elements, and we're only just getting started. Following the ghost of Markus outside the warehouse and past the dark, empty buildings of the research site, Enoch is even able to see the remnants of other ghosts off in the distance, but eventually Markus's mimetic ghost stops and begins to speak.
Joel? Joel, where are you? We're gonna freeze to death out here. What? Joel? Joel, what are you? It's me, Markus. Listen, man, we need to get these generators on. Give me the generator key. What's wrong with you? Just give me the key. I'll take it. Get away. Stay back, Joel. No, don't touch me.
So Markus came out here looking to turn the generators on to restore heating to the site's buildings, but it looks like another worker named Joel was already out here by them, and he's obviously been zombified or monstrified or whatever by something. Joel had the keys though, but since Markus sounds to be a little older, I guess he didn't want to try and fight him for them, so he runs off in a different direction, and Enoch starts following his mimetic trail once more. Pinheiro radios to remark on how the fidelity of Markus's thought structure is alarmingly strong, so he must have been very distraught about something, and when he talked to him over the radio, he started sounding especially cagey towards the end of their interactions. Seems like Markus has a part to play in this story, and Enoch continues following his ghost, but eventually runs into something a bit more real. The frozen body of one of the researchers with multiple other bodies in the surrounding area. What's most disturbing and perplexing, however, is the fact that they all seem to have somehow died instantaneously, frozen while performing their final acts. None of them seem to be leaning against a wall or buried in the snow like you'd expect. Some of them are desperately pushing snowmobiles, trying to get through a window, or doing this. The name tag on this guy's coat suggests that he's actually Joel, the man Markus was talking to in the earlier mimetic reenactment, although his head is off and he's got red fleshy growths protruding out of his hand and neck. Ugh. And over in front of a gate, Enoch sees this smoldering pile of something. Yeah, the SCP Foundation was definitely doing something here. These guys weren't studying penguins, that's for sure. Continuing after Markus, Enoch soon finds a closed gate where he is shown another reenactment of Markus's final experiences.
Markus? Markus, where were you? Power's still down.
Joel was gone. Maybe he's the one who was working with the Foundation.
What?
Do you have your revolver on you?
Wait, what do you mean gone?
I can take care of this. Just hand me the gun.
Let's head back to the house and regroup.
The only way we don't freeze to death is if you give me that gun, and I get these jennies up and running. That is the only way we get to the snowcats and get the hell out of here.
What's going on, Markus? Tell me the truth. What the hell was that?
David, run!
Well, did you hear what he said in the beginning? Markus posits that Joel must have been the one working for the Foundation, even though we know all evidence points to it being him, which suggests that the other workers and researchers here must have been kept in the dark about it for the most part. Following Markus further, Enoch soon sees him step into a building, and after going inside, the door gets locked behind him. Enoch calmly assumes that the mimetic ghosts want him to find something here, and Pinheiro agrees, saying that the whole building just lit up on his monitoring systems. That's another cool detail. Rather than being unsettled or scared by the ghosts, Enoch seems to be used to them, which makes a lot of sense considering his line of work.
Looks like civilians are trying to open the south gate and take a snowcat patrol base. No way they made it to the Norwegians. Patrol base is past the mountains. And the gate is still closed. Looks like they were still searching for the generator key.
It looks like everyone here was trapped, and Markus believed that their only hope of survival was to try and turn the generators back on so they could maybe wait out the storm. But if you look at the top of the map, everybody's name is already crossed out, except for somebody named Justine. Searching Markus's house, Enoch soon finds an audio log in the kitchen, but after picking it up, he hears commotion on the floor above him, very strong mimetic frequencies suggesting something intense must have happened, and so he rushes upstairs to look.
Meet the gun off of me! David! David!
Markus? Markus, what happened? Where is David? Markus!
I didn't mean to. It all happened so fast. They told me to man the radio. Turn it off after every transmission. Keep the shipments moving. Tell everyone we were fine. Don't let anyone leave.
What? You were helping them? This whole time? Markus, all of our friends!
I needed the money. I didn't know.
I'm going to flip the power transfer switch to turn on the gate. If that doesn't work, I'll find the generator key and restart the power myself.
Don't go.
I'd rather freeze to death if there's a chance of reaching the Norwegian troll base than stay here with you a second longer.
Justine, it's too far south. And those monsters are out there.
Yeah, well, there are monsters in here too.
So, our missing container is likely at the hospital, and Miss Justine went after the generator key. Yeah, it's a weaker signal, but her transferics might be just strong enough to follow.
Jeez, so Markus was behind all of this. He was paid off by the Foundation to keep their presence here quiet. He was the one who made sure nobody could leave, most likely being the one who chained the gates from the outside, and he even killed this guy David after a little scuffle over the gun. However, if you remember, just before Enoch came upstairs, he found an audio log in the kitchen containing Markus's final testament. Let's give it a listen.
This is Markus Benedict, communications technician at NSIS-4. Our outpost was taken over, and we were held hostage by a group calling themselves the Foundation. They came here to conduct tests in secret. A few weeks ago, a large red container arrived with weird symbols. Then the fences went up, the guns came out, and people started disappearing. Today we all woke up to shouting, gunshots. All the Foundation personnel were gone by the time we got outside. Then everyone made a plan to grab some snowcats and head towards Troll Base to get help. But the south gate was shut. Power was off. And all the vehicles had been sabotaged. I tried talking them out of it, but they wouldn't hear it. The truth is, I'm the one that sabotaged the vehicles and shut off the power. The Foundation paid me to keep everything quiet, to scrub the manifests, shut down the radio tower after every transmission. Troll Station even called in to ask how we were doing, and I lied. I'm the one that delivered the red container to the hospital. And what I saw in there, I can still hear the screams. I was going to take the key, and I was going to leave them all behind. What the fuck is wrong with me? I killed my friends. I killed all of them. And I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I betrayed everyone for what? Money? Money? Like it fucking matters now. Even if Justine and the others could turn on the generators and open the south gate, whatever the Foundation made is still here. They can't leave. None of us can. What kind of God lets this happen that would listen to me? Whoever's listening, if you are, you're the one I'm praying to now. Please forgive me.
Pressing forward, Enoch leaves Markus's house and starts following the mimetic ghost of Justine. Although unfortunately she didn't make it very far, and interestingly she's the only corpse in a position that indicates she didn't die instantaneously, possibly suggesting that she was killed by something instead of freezing. After grabbing the generator keys off her suspiciously masculine body, early access, Enoch heads back over to the generators so he can reactivate them. When he turns them back on, he hears roaring in the distance and Captain Pinheiro tells him to hurry up. Even he heard that back on the boat. Enoch reactivates each generator and starts moving away when he finally meets one of those monsters that Markus must have been talking about. It's a heavily deformed, barely humanoid husk with no clothing on it whatsoever, and its entire body is composed of nothing but writhing red flesh. It attacks him by launching speeding, wriggling projectiles or by distending some kind of giant appendage through the ground and then having it explode upward through the surface. As Enoch rushes over to the south gate, he sees more of them rising from the snow, angry that their beauty sleep is being interrupted, but eventually he's able to get to the gate and open it after rerouting the power to its controls. However, on the other side of the gate is what appears to be the resident steroid addict of NSIS-4, Big Bobby, who Enoch tries to blow up with a grenade, but it's an early access grenade so it doesn't really work out. But his good old handy dandy MK-18 always has his back. With Big Bobby dead and all the other monsters hot on his tail, Enoch rushes into an open gate, quickly closes it behind him, and finds himself in the NSIS-4 Research Center. Maybe now it's finally time for us to get some answers, and sure enough, Enoch soon finds on the table an SCP Foundation tablet displaying a memorandum for NSIS-4. The memorandum shows that NSIS-4 is an international agency staffed almost entirely by references to the Thing hailing from all around the world, and is designed to provide the researchers stationed at it year-round self-sufficiency and even saves room for a few lucky tourists. All the workers and researchers here were simply just that. Markus was a communications and facilities guy, Justine oversaw liaisons, David was an electrician, and so on. So why are there monsters here, and what does the SCP Foundation have to do with it? Well, after wasting another monster waiting for its biannual checkup, Enoch finds within the research center nurse's office another Foundation tablet with an additional document made to look like something from NSIS-4. In reality, it's actually an email from an undercover SCP Foundation researcher named Dr. Margaret Yoon detailing her plans at the newly commandeered NSIS-4. Yoon and her team here plan to enhance the Vector program by performing tests using SCP-610, an exceedingly virulent necrotic pathogen that transforms people. We have our murder weapon. The email explains that organisms infected with SCP-610 begin to exhibit hive mind tendencies, and their bodies begin producing a unique nucleotide that makes them capable of self-propagation and restructuring, which effectively grants them biological immortality. Dr. Yoon writes that NSIS-4 is an ideal location for testing SCP-610 due to the climate, its secluded nature, and the abundance of human test subjects. Yeah, if it wasn't already obvious, the SCP Foundation is rarely ever humane. They're known to happily use human test subjects for basically all of their research, but usually those test subjects, called D-Class units, are death row inmates enlisted from prison systems all around the world. Dr. Yoon here is experimenting on ordinary civilians, saying that ethical considerations have been deemed secondary to the larger operation objective, and that the Vector program is crucial to suppressing the threat of SCP-5000 to humanity. The document concludes with Yoon saying that she is cured of SCP-5000 and implies that it's some kind of parasite, before ending the email by warning about how she's unsure what SCP-5000 would do if it finds out about their activities here. Boy, that was a loaded lore document. Now we know what caused the overall train wreck that Enoch has stumbled into, SCP-610, a devastating virus brought here by the Foundation, but we're still yet to learn all the details. SCP-610 is slated to be used as an instrument in the Vector program, whose name now makes a lot more sense, since a vector is a word for an organism that transmits one disease or parasite to another organism. The Foundation seems to want to figure out a way to spread this parasite SCP-610 as much as they can, but why? Dr. Yoon made reference to the eponymous SCP-5000, the big question of this game, but only said that she used to have it and implies that it's apparently intelligent in some way. Remember, she wrote how she's unsure of how it would react if it deemed something a threat to itself, which is pretty unusual considering most parasites I know about are like very instinctual and low functioning, like worms or even microbes. Whatever SCP-5000 is, it must be on a whole other level. Continuing to explore the research center, Enoch heads upstairs and finds on another tablet the field log of a bubbly Foundation researcher named Dr. Nightingale, starting with an entry made on September 4th of 2020. Dr. Nightingale reveals that the Foundation abused the tourist outreach program of NSIS-4 to implant specialists who would lie in wait, and talks about the civilian personnel here, saying that she almost feels bad for them. Well, how nice of you, good doctor. They'll be touched by your hesitance as you inject them with the syringe that turns them into a revolting meat zombie. On day 3 of the logs, Dr. Nightingale writes about Dr. Yoon's arrival to NSIS-4 and ponders the strange nature of the Foundation security personnel who escorted her, saying that they're the first quote-unquote cured she's ever met. She says they don't act anything like the usual dude bro jock mall cops she's used to from her previous work, and that they simply stand around like robots, patiently waiting for orders to be given. Seems like whatever treatment gets rid of SCP-5000 is not without its side effects. The log continues some hours later in the day, and Nightingale writes that the first covert tests on non-essential NSIS-4 personnel went well. SCP-610 is really good at turning people into nightmare mush, which she says is consistent with reports from the Siberia outbreak. I guess that must be where they discovered 610. Dr. Nightingale continues her log on day 7, writing on that day that Foundation MTF teams obtained control of this site and took all the NSIS-4 workers hostage by shoving them all in the hospital, taking their phones to make sure they can't contact the outside world, and in true SCP Foundation fashion, they even murdered a couple of them. Afterwards, one of the other Foundation scientists actually became upset with the comically unethical practices of his compatriots and said that they needed to wait for proper subjects. They shouldn't use the workers, but MTF members take him to one of the buildings they're using, and it's not hard to guess what happened to him. The Day 7 log ends with Nightingale ominously saying that they're proceeding as planned, and the Day 8 log begins with her writing about how a Foundation submarine named the Solar Queen has arrived at the site with new supplies and testing materials. Maybe that was the Foundation vessel Captain Pinheiro talked about earlier. Dr. Nightingale is very optimistic about the supplies and seems to believe that all this wanton murder and exploitation of human beings is actually for their benefit, writing about how if she, Dr. Yoon, and the rest of her team can pull off whatever it is they're trying to do here, cured humanity will no longer be helpless victims of disease. She says she's still seeing some of the other Foundation scientists discussing their circumstances with the SCP Foundation Ethics Committee, which obviously seems to be about as useful as a knitted condom, and even mentions Markus, pointing out that he's been drinking a lot but still keeping a lid on everything. The log ends with her saying that the experimentation continues and the results are looking more promising every day. The next log, written on Day 9, was when things really changed. The group of the other Foundation researchers that were upset with the ethics of the program actually tried to free the NSIS-4 workers from the hospital they were holed up in. They had guns, and she writes about seeing a Foundation MTF member, one of the cured humans, take a round to the chest and not even flinch. She says he didn't scream, not even as he tried to get back up while he was bleeding out. She says he started rambling something about mouths before dying, but it didn't take long for the other Foundation guards to quash the little rebellion. So it seems like these people who are cured of SCP-5000 lose any and all sense of feeling. They don't seem to express any kind of emotion or experience things like empathy. So whatever SCP-5000 is, it must be very closely related with the human mind in some way. The next log is from Day 12 of Dr. Nightingale's stay at NSIS-4, and in this entry she discusses some of her findings related to SCP-610, saying that when it's combined with biological material from cured humans, it's able to absorb thoughts and personalities, and she hypothesizes that SCP-610 will seek out things that think and feel the same way it does when searching for new biological material to assimilate. She continues expressing concerns about the quote-unquote growth sections of the hospital, saying that they're quick to get out of control, but they're able to use the almost mechanized cured security staff to keep them in line with flamethrowers, and ponders what it's going to be like when she eventually gets cured. She then shares some ideation on naming conventions for the different forms that instances of SCP-610 take, starting with 610-VX2, nests, which she writes prefer to adhere to structural surfaces to insulate activity and create an ideal biome for further growth. Next, she writes about 610-VX3, larva, which she only describes as being like cellular slurry. After that, we have 610-VX4, which she refers to as scouts/sentries, highly mobile instances that seek out new biological material to bring back to the nests for assimilation. Next, she writes about 610-VX5, which she calls Nephilim, an instance she's only able to speculate about since Dr. Yoon keeps terminating them before they can grow to the immense size she seems to think they can grow to. Finally, she ends the log with talk of 610-VX6, spires, giant pillars of 610 material that have been observed growing up to 10 feet tall, but keep having to be exterminated before they can get any larger. The next log was written on Day 15 and opens with Dr. Nightingale proudly proclaiming like a kid on Christmas she got to speak with the O5 Council, the head administrative body of the SCP Foundation. It looks like they're well pleased with Dr. Nightingale's and Dr. Yoon's human meatball research out here, and they want them to keep going. She then writes about how the paranormal ecosystem reacts to wide-scale conflict as much as the mundane ecosystem does, and talks of how the coming conflict will be a war on all fronts. The log ends with Dr. Nightingale discussing SCP-2764 and its relation to her work out here, theorizing that controlled instances of SCP-610 could possibly be used to neutralize SCP-2764 with a projected success rating of 67%. Now, I did some digging on the official SCP wiki and learned that SCP-2764 is an enormous and extremely anomalous aquatic organism capable of teleporting, changing its size, and communicating telepathically among many other things, and it's also located in Antarctica, just a hop and skip away from NSIS-4 as a matter of fact. The next log was written a whole 11 days later and begins with Dr. Nightingale expressing her frustration with the news that her work at NSIS-4 is being shelved. The Foundation is bringing in new people and supplies from all over, and they're looking to turn the location into a permanent site. She writes that she's betting Dr. Yoon is going to get directorship and that special high-ranking scientists affiliated with the O5 Council are coming in, but the log ends with her saying that she has a plan. The final log is a short one. Dr. Nightingale reveals that she and a few of her close researcher friends have been running trials in secret and have been cooking up something big. She writes that she wants to show everyone what she can do when she's not afraid, and the log ends with her saying she's heading to the hospital where everything began. After reading through what he's gathered, Enoch tells Pinheiro that the SCP Foundation is weaponizing anomalies and preparing for war, not just at Area 12 but at all facilities, and the two agree that they've seen enough. Enoch uploads his findings to Ganzir for review, and stepping outside he finally sees the sheer magnitude of Nightingale's labor. All the lies, all the experiments, all the sacrifices made in other people's names has created this. Enoch radios Pinheiro again to tell him that there's only one way to end all this chaos for good.
Captain, this is really bad. Before we go any further, you gotta contact Ganzir and request authorization for an MRG. No. An abomination like this, he can't be allowed to leave. Okay, I understood. I don't like it any better than you do. There's an old observation tower next to the satellite. I'm gonna prepare the MRG there. And then I'll head to the hospital.
Enoch tells Pinheiro that he's going to set up an MRG, a mimetic redaction grenade. Remember how I mentioned earlier that the GOC harnesses the power of magic in their operations and how they often combine it with their equipment? Well, a mimetic redaction grenade, from my understanding, isn't actually quite what it sounds like. It's far from being just like any other ordinary grenade. Instead, when an MRG goes off, it will cast a spell that will summon the support of GOC thaumaturges, who will then cast their own spells through the portal it creates from the GOC capital city of Ganzir. The words mimetic redaction means that the spell will erase every single thing with the mimetic signature in its effect radius from ever having existed in the first place. Basically, it's a magic nuke that will leave no trace of NSIS-4 behind, including the buildings, including SCP-610, and also including Enoch and Captain Pinheiro. Heading up to an old watchtower, a good launch point for the MRG, Enoch places it down, and if you look very closely, you can even see markings and runes etched into its surface. Now, detonating a nuclear bomb would be one thing, but I guess the ramifications of permanently erasing everything in a 20-mile radius are a bit more serious, so Enoch is going over to the hospital to get additional data for Ganzir so they can help him with the usage of the MRG. After climbing up a collapsed cursed building that actually makes for a really cool little set piece idea, Enoch makes it to the front yard of the hospital, but unfortunately there's a few Christmas carolers waiting for him. After fending them off, he rushes into the hospital and shuts the doors behind him, stepping into ground zero of the SCP-610 outbreak. Yeesh, this is the worst it's ever been. SCP-610 instances are consuming the very walls of the building, and the mangled remains of human beings are grotesquely melded into the enormous festering mass of dreadful sentient meat. This place is unearthly, and as Enoch silently ventures deeper into it, ignoring the constant groans of the helpless victims, he sees the body of a researcher get pulled away into some hellish chasm of unknowable horror. Having nowhere else to go except to follow the path the corpse took, Enoch hears Pinheiro trying to radio him.
Enoch, hey, something's going on. We might lose each other for a bit. Captain? I can barely hear you. Fuck.
Now, something I'd like to mention here that I don't think I made quite clear earlier is that the GOC are again some of the most powerful players within the SCP universe. Other government agencies talk about them like they're warriors of ancient myths and legends. They're the only organization that can go toe-to-toe with the SCP Foundation, and all this is part of the reason why I never even acknowledged the fact that Enoch was sent in here entirely on his own. It's actually really not that ridiculous when you consider it. He wears a self-healing combat suit, his gear is covered in glyphs that bring ruin to his enemies, and he can see ghosts for Pete's sake. And even he, learning that he's now alone in this place, is starting to waver. But still, he presses onward, putting down any instances of SCP-610 that seek to assimilate him into them until he comes upon an infernal obelisk of combined test subjects, eternally mummified in their final moments of unthinkable suffering. Boy, this is a real downer, guys. I gotta say, I am not enjoying my stay here in Antarctica, and I still haven't seen any penguins. Oh, wait. Oh, there's one right there. This place sucks. Inspecting the area, Enoch finds an audio log on a tray next to the operating table and pops it into his tablet for a listen.
This is Dr. Amy Nightingale, Day 5 of Trials, October 16th, 1800 hours. Our tests on the new SCP-610 Vex have begun. By utilizing this base's natural environment, we can work without concern that the original SCP-610 instance will breach containment. Is the injection ready?
Yes, Dr. Nightingale.
Fantastic. Let's proceed. This is so exciting.
Injection is beginning now.
Readings are normal so far. What's this? Cellular reproduction is multiplying. At this rate, the body temperatures would... No, this shouldn't be happening. This will make containment. Oh no! Stop the procedure! My hand! Don't let go! I'm trying to... No! Put your aim at the skull!
Yeah, I don't know, Dr. Nightingale. Exciting is probably not the word I would use to describe this. And you know what the worst part is? I bet she made it out of this shit, with dozens of Foundation MTF members carrying her bony ass back to a chopper so she could fly away and watch as her stupid science experiments consume hundreds of innocent people, eagerly writing down every single thing she saw. Jeez. Enoch keeps moving, and something deeply unsettling I noticed is that if you turn on his mimetic vision, you'll see that every surface of the building is exhibiting mimetic properties. Everything here is alive. Trudging up a staircase riddled with 610 infestation, Enoch makes it to the building's second floor, where he eventually finds himself in what apparently used to be somebody's office, and just around the corner he meets the receptionist. Okay, I think we've definitely got enough intel for Ganzir to authorize wiping this place off the face of the earth, but when Enoch walks into an adjacent room and sees one of the corpses in the wall engulfed by an enormous freakish maw, he notices that it seems to be handing him something, and in its deformed, gangly palm sits none other than an audio log.
I recall a professor at university describing a scientist as someone who isn't satisfied with the knowledge they have. The scientist is always asking how, asking when, asking why, tirelessly asking questions. Ironic that now, when it couldn't possibly matter less, I finally ask myself what I should have months ago. Why? Why did I let them fly me to this wilderness? Why did I not listen to the voices that were screaming from inside me to stop? Why did I let the Foundation feed me these obvious lies? Why did I press on, pushing myself toward oblivion when I knew what I was creating? On the remote chance that anyone is listening, I'm attaching a hard drive with all of our data to this audio recording. Maybe you'll be able to sort through and find a way to stop the cellular growth, or at least come up with a way to kill SCP-610-Vex cells en masse. Maybe this is another point of data that will help you uncover what the Foundation is truly planning to unleash on the world. Maybe this will only be found years after by whatever survivors made it. Or maybe it will stay here for millennia on an empty planet. Irrelevant now, really. The time when I had choices is long gone. Now I sit, locked inside the lab in which I spent many sleepless, freezing nights designing my own destruction, asking myself endless, pointless questions. Did I destroy the world? Or am I just a pawn in the inevitable? If it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. Another scientist unwilling to ask why. Of course, if it was someone else, I wouldn't be here. I'd get to die somewhere else. Somewhere fucking warmer. Best of luck.
This is Dr. Nightingale. All of this is Dr. Nightingale. She never made it into any chopper. She's still here, and even she knows that it's time to end this. Enoch takes the hard drive that she gave him in the audio log and steps out over to the exit, but not before taking a look out the window and seeing that. That, everybody, is what I think might be none other than SCP-2764, the eldritch horror of Antarctica, still lying dormant even after being infected by SCP-610. You can see mouths and what looks to be fins on the gigantic tendrils of writhing flesh breaking through the ice. Whatever that is, it's alive and it's spreading towards the mountains. Enoch has no more time to waste. Ganzir will be more than satisfied with the data he's collected, and hopefully if the MRG doesn't eliminate all of SCP-610, then the GOC can still use the data he's obtained to figure out a way to destroy any remnants. Enoch keeps moving and fights through the last few rooms of the hospital until he emerges back outside, where Pinheiro radios him saying that the mass of tentacles and mouths he saw emerging from the ice earlier is awake, angry, and it's heading for the ship. Enoch picks up the pace and runs back towards the MRG in the observation tower, noticing that the spires of SCP-610 look to have grown even bigger, and they now have thrashing tendrils growing out of them reaching into the air.
Enoch, those spires are starting to drag us towards land. Just waiting on you to neutralize the MRG.
Captain, I'm on my way to the tower. Hold on. Once I begin the upload, that should draw them away from you.
Falling back to the boiler room. Enoch, we lost the bridge.
Captain? Captain?
Things are getting bad. There's looking to be no way out of this, and after a final mad dash past dozens of angry converted 610 instances, Enoch arrives at the observation tower where he uses a terminal inside to upload the intel he's gathered about the Vector program. The place is now literally crawling with innumerable instances of SCP-610, however, and they don't want to go down without a fight, and so Enoch gives them one. Killing droves of SCP-610 instances, big and small, Enoch is eventually victorious, and Captain Pinheiro radios one last time to tell him it's time for everyone to go home.
Well done, Enoch.
Captain, I thought you were lost.
Wishful thinking, I'm still here. Ganzir has authorized the MRG. Go, now, and prepare for me a room.
Yes, brother. My father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go, prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me. That you also may be